If you have one leg that's longer than the other, I'm going to tell you exactly what to do about it. My name is Dr. Story. I've been a chiropractor for over 23 years. I'm going to give you realistic advice based on my experience. Now, if one leg grew longer than the other, there's a number of reasons this can occur through our growth plates, but it's a very common problem is that a patient will actually have either the femur or the tibia actually longer than the other one on the other side. And so what ends up happening is they have a situation where one pelvis is higher than the other. Very often patients will actually notice that when they buy clothing that one side is longer than the other, or they'll notice one shoe is wearing out farther, or just when they wear a bathing suit, or they just look in the mirror that their body is just tilted. So what do? Well, the first thing that you want to do is get an accurate reading. Number one, you want to be assessed by someone who looks at the body fully. So sometimes people have a shorter leg, but it's actually a dropped arch. So what I'm going to show you in this video does not apply to that. So what we would do in that case, though, is to give them custom-made orthotics and with correcting for both arches, so it brings the small arch up, correcting the short leg. But we're talking about an anatomical short leg. We're talking about one tibia is actually longer than the other, or one femur is longer than the other, and there's no pelvic dysfunction, joint dysfunctions. So what you got to do first is you got to have an x-ray, and it's a special x-ray to actually measure to the millimeter the difference of the leg bones. So once you have that information, let's say it's 3 millimeters, 5 millimeters, that type of thing, anything below about 3 millimeters generally doesn't cause problems, but anything above 3 millimeters very often can, especially if you're on your feet a lot. So the best thing to do would be to buy these things, and I'm going to put a link down below of how to get these. They're very, very cheap, couple bucks at most, but what happens is you can see that it's a wedge, and it's about this is a 3 millimeter one. It's 3 millimeters here, and it's basically nothing right here. And this you would put on the inside of your shoe. You don't glue these to your shoe, you put them on the inside of your shoe. Usually for most people that wear a shoe, you'll take out the little insert part, put it underneath, and put it down, and that usually keeps it in place. If not, what you can use some what's called museum wax, and actually put it in there. You don't have to glue it in, you just put that little wax in there and it keeps it from sliding in your shoe. What happens is this actually will raise the actual heel upwards by about 3 millimeters, taking that slack out for that short leg. Now if someone has, let's say, a 6 millimeter, 9 millimeter, that type of thing, shoe lift, you can either double up on these or you can buy separate ones. So they actually have, depending on, just go to Amazon and figure it out. But what happens here is I will put 2 of them in, and that corrects for about 6 millimeters right there. So this often will help people tremendously with back pain and particularly hip pain. Very often patients will actually have hip pain on the opposite side of the short leg, which is interesting. It makes sense. I'm going to explain it right now, but it'll make sense why it's the long leg. So when a person is tilted, if I'm going to stand back here and I'm tilted up, this is the side where all the tendons and the muscles get their strain. So very often patients will have pain on, let's say, the right side. When we examine them, it's the left side that's shorter, and we actually put these in, and it just, almost by magic, they feel so much better. Now, how high can you go before this becomes a problem? My personal experience has been somewhere in the neighborhood of 7, 8, 9 millimeters. It starts to become a little obstructive inside the shoe to where it lifts your foot out of the shoe and it doesn't feel as comfortable anymore. In that particular case, what I recommend is to take your shoe to a shoemaker, and let's say you need a 10 millimeter lift. What they would do is they would take your shoe and glue a piece of plastic that matches your shoe so hardly anybody can see it, and we'll put it through the full length of the shoe. And this is something that is extremely necessary if you have a major leg length discrepancy. So that is how, as a chiropractor, I help people with anatomically short legs.